The Biden administration is ending student loan relief, and the whole system kicks back up in about 6 weeks. Of course, progressives are apoplectic because they feel President Biden should wave his grandfatherly magic walking stick and cancel all student debt, which would immediately overburden taxpayers who won't enjoy the extra cash or the fancy degree that comes with it. Nearly six.
Why do you want people to be in such debt? Would anybody ever be in debt if continued education was provided to everybody based on taxes? Aside from that, the students are in such debt because college is very expensive. Maybe college should be made affordable. They can't? Okay, why are you right-wingers opposed to continued education being tax-based then? You argue that the lefties, libs, Democrats just want everything for free. But the reality is that people earn that tax money, so they actually are earning their own way. They would simply be chipping in. How is that wrong? Because you're paying too? How does that make it wrong?
60% of Americans do not hold college degrees, but despite their lack of education, they will be on the hook for free college for all the fancy lads on the liberal arts express. So people who will ultimately be richer than you are stealing your money to pay for their bad choices. Got it.
Okay, Fantasyland. How is the tax system of Fantasyland? Would these bad choices of going into debt be a problem if everything was made affordable instead of jacked up because of greed? Or made available to everybody through taxes? That is, after all, what Bernie proposed and Joe shot down because he's a fucking asshole. You are erroneously and fallaciously calling these students out for their bad choices while you shit on tax-based college.
Who loves free college and student loan forgiveness? Progressives. Colleges have long been propaganda factories, and while do-gooder lefties want free school, they despise free speech. Isn't that fun? 42 million people have some form of federal student loan debt, including 36 million with direct loans.
How are they propaganda factories? What does free speech have to do with education fees?
By themselves add up to $1.35 trillion. Room, board, tuition, and fees will run you a little over $50K a year at a private school. The public route will set you back $22K a year. Most people can't afford rising tuition that supports far beefier administrations than the actual professors, so they take out loans. 92% of those loans are held by Uncle Sam. The government is printing.
Which is why socializing college is necessary. What's your point?
Free money to colleges that have zero incentive to manage costs or encourage measures lending to fruitful jobs. So it's no surprise costs are going in the wrong direction. Students have taken it is printing free money to colleges that have zero incentive to manage costs or encourage measures lending.
Printing money? Who the hell is talking about printing money? What the hell are you talking about, lady?
Into fruitful jobs. So it's no surprise costs are going in the wrong direction. Students have taken notice, many of whom have decided to work and forego a traditional college experience right after high school. College enrollment is down 6.5% since 2019, and it has dropped 14.1% at community colleges, which normally see an influx during financial hardships. Students and their parents.
Again, what's your point? What causes those financial hardships?
Parents who see what's going on in these pinko bastions are giving more thought to delaying college or instead turning to trade schools that offer little debt and higher starting salaries. And sexy calluses, yeah, pipe fitters. Woo! Society should never be on the hook for your bad decisions. And it is not your right to have a debt-free experience steeping in the.
So everybody has to go into a trade because you sociopaths don't want people to get a course in college courtesy of taxes? Toxic what of progressivism? So you admit socialized education is progressive, and you hate it because it is progressive? Is economics all about you fascist sociopaths? Maybe they don't want to indulge in your fascist ideas. They're obligated to? Why? Oh, because you're a fascist and they will never do anything about you. Yeah, I'm afraid, yeah, you got a point there. How is socialized college tax theft? Would American waged wars be theft? No? How is college theft but not wars?
Sure as hell am not obligated to indulge your academic whims in the form of high tax theft. So if it's that important you matriculate, be a responsible bubble dweller, and do a solid cost-benefit analysis.
Bubble dweller? Okay, if it's a bubble, it's only because you fascists are keeping it from being a reality, while you have no valid point against it. You've said it's tax theft, but you neglect to explain why it is tax theft. You have no problem with wars, though, as you don't mention those.
Analysis before you sign on the dotted line and agree to that student loan. And that's the memo.
Would that fee document exist if college was provided through taxes? Which Joe just ignorantly shut down because he's a fucking cocksucker?
And of course, AOC and the squad have been squawking about this topic since the dawn of time. Here they are making their case for debt cancellation earlier this month. Roll it, boys.
I have over $17,000 in student loan debt. We have a moral obligation, an economic obligation, a political obligation to cancel student loan debt.
I worked full-time, Monday through Friday, and took weekend classes to get my law degree, and still close to $200,000 in debt.
That's all I hear, literally. A moral obligation. That.
Wow, that was a very disturbing and childish display on that international TV. Nothing you said had any substance. I'm politically independent and you haven't said anything that helps me understand why student debt cancellation is wrong or bad. Oh, let me guess. I'm a pedophile, a Nazi, a maggot, trash, evil, godless, etc. Because I don't agree with you. That's what some wackos on Getter have told me. Oh yeah, and a death threat in the form of a war threat.
It is not within the purview of the federal government, my lovelies. I am not responsible to pay your debt.
Who is saying you are responsible? The idea of taxes is everybody chips in to help make something expensive available to everybody in the country. To not approve of this is irresponsible because it would greatly benefit the economy. I guess you don't want that.
Party panel is back. Jason Meister, Dave Smith, and Kelly Hyman. Jason, I think this is a bit of good news from the Biden administration. Good for them.
It sure is, and I couldn't agree more with your memo. If you borrowed money to become a neo-Marxist who has a gender studies and sociology degree, that's on you.
Define neo-Marxist, and how is name-calling a valid argument against this? Would borrowing money be necessary if student debt was cancelled? You're fallaciously trying to argue borrowing money against an economic concept that eliminates the need to borrow money. Dumbass.
And also, more importantly, if you're flabbergasted, surprised, shocked, astounded that Joe Biden isn't going to relieve you of your student loan debt and actually believe that just like you believe, then you haven't been paying attention to Joe Biden's 50-year career in politics, where the only break he's ever...
How is Donald any better in either of those? Oh wait, Donald didn't propose student debt cancellation. How is that a valid argument? Both presidents are shit? I already knew that. So are you people, by the way, with your smug attitude as you argue fallacy after fucking fallacy.
Given was to his son Hunter and his political donors. So now you go get a real job with your gender studies degree, and good luck with that, because your president just put a wrecking ball into the economy.
So you're for student debt cancellation? You've just bashed both Donald and Joe. As for jobs, those obviously don't help with the debt, so how is that a valid argument?
Dave, are we obligated to pay for college as a society?
No, of course not. I mean, look, I agree with all of you guys, and it's insane the idea that we'd be obligated to pay. Like, the person who's not privileged enough to go to college is obligated to go get a job and then pay his taxes to.
I've already explained this, but repeating it for the sake of reiteration is sometimes a good idea. This is not about anybody being obligated to pay for people's education or responsibility, but chipping in to make it accessible because it's expensive. Still nothing? Okay, what part of that did you not understand? So it's all about privilege. So wouldn't they become privileged if student debt is cancelled? They have to earn it? Why do they have to earn it? Why do you want them obligated to earn it, while you people fallaciously argue about obligation?
Pay for the privileged person who went to college. So I agree with all of that. I'll also say that what's frustrating, Kennedy, and I'm sure you feel my frustration on this, is it's like only libertarians understand anything about economics. College is obligated to go get a job and then pay his taxes to pay for the privileged person who went to college. So I agree with all of that. I'll also say that.
Wait a minute. So you're not against paying taxes after graduation? Only the taxes for going to college to get a bigger salary? Do you even know what the purpose of taxes is?
What's frustrating, Kennedy, and I'm sure you feel my frustration on this, is it's like only libertarians understand anything about economics. So we're the only ones who even understand.
No, you would understand that taxes are about public provisions, especially expensive institutions, if you had any understanding of economics.
And like what a price is. So when someone says something like, they go, well, look, I became a lawyer and I still have 200 grand of unpaid debt that I can't pay back. It's like, well, that is information. And the information is that that cost was not worth it. That's.
Or maybe it's an indication that that college is that badly excessively expensive, which means denying student debt cancellation is the actual bad choice here.
If you're not making enough money to pay that back, then you spent something you shouldn't have. But I will say this. It is not.
They wouldn't be spending anything if Bernie was elected or if Joe was the responsible fucking president and canceled student debt.
Of course we shouldn't forgive student loan debts, but it's
Why
not
not?
as if this has not been an evil scheme from the very beginning.
Amen.
Where the
What's been an evil scheme from the beginning?
as you pointed out, there's no incentives for college to lower their prices, but let's be even more blunt. The
Just because you say they aren't?
reason college is so expensive is because the government got in the business of guaranteeing loans for college. And then,
Well, if college was made tax-based all along, that wouldn't have happened, now would it have? Do you see the absolute flaw in your reasoning there?
and just started giving out the loans altogether. And you would have drastic price inflation in any industry if loans were guaranteed to buy that product. We've created a culture where we encourage every kid, even like C- students, that they have to go spend 4 years after high school drinking beer and pretending to read. This is insane.
Some kind of straw man there.
And yeah, we've trapped a lot of kids in this who now are working at Starbucks, living at home, and have 6 figures of debt. And it is pretty messed up, the situation that the entire system has put them in. Now, it's not on some blue-collar worker to bail them out.
No.
However, we could
Who is talking about blue-collar workers bailing people out? Another straw man.
acknowledge that this was wrong. This whole system, the idea that we encourage super smart people should go to college and read books for 4 years after high school. The vast majority of the rest of us should go figure out how we can contribute to our fellow man.
Kelly, your response?
Huh?
I think it's important for everyone to have an
Fuck.
opportunity to get education, whether they're at trade schools or grad schools. I came out of school with six figures in debt. And so I understand that, and it's very difficult having that amount of debt. But I think it's a personal decision on what's best for you and what you want, whether, as you said, to go to trade school, you want to go to grad school, or not go to school at all. It's your personal decision. And absolutely, people should be held accountable if they have the student debt to pay that. But they're
Would there be anything to be held accountable to if Joe had granted this cancellation? Why do you want people to be held accountable?
There is also options as well to consolidate your student loans and have one payment, or it's based on your salary.
Would options be necessary if the debt was canceled?
As well, there's always options as well, but I think it's important that people have access to whatever educations that they need and potentially
There's plenty of
desire.
access. There's plenty of access. There are 3,000 colleges and universities in this country, and people can partake in a number of them. People can also read on their own. People can also look at courses on YouTube. People can do all sorts of things in order to get the same information that is being taught in college with no debt at all. Didn't you see Good Will Hunting? How about them apples?
Okay, I haven't seen that movie, but aside from that reference, that was just a non-argument because nobody's complaining about a shortage of colleges. So what the fuck was that all about?